Great North Woods to the Rockbound Coast and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello, everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, Governor Janet Mills spoke with reporters about the conflict in Iran. We'll have more on that coming up. Plus, the man arrested in connection with the vandalism at Burnt Cove Market in Stonington was in court yesterday. And Secretary of State Shenna Bellows unveiled her new plans for housing and utility costs here in Maine. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Janessa Bishop. Craig Colson is off for the day. We'll have those stories and much more coming up. And as always, we thank you for joining us. It will be a partly cloudy day today and maybe even a chance of snowfall later on tonight. Let's start off this morning by getting a first check of our forecast. Devin Biggs joins us now.
Alrighty, Janessa, thank you very much. On this Tuesday, we have some advisories posted to the south and west. Winter weather advisories up until Wednesday morning at around 4 a.m. for measurable snowfall of around 3 to 5 inches possible in these areas. Meanwhile, small craft advisory up until 1 a.m. Wednesday in these areas. Meanwhile, here's what we got right now. Not a whole lot going on. We will be watching for increasing clouds coming up later on today as our next system begins to move in. As we do zoom things out, that's the system right there that we are keeping an eye on. It will be an all snow event for us as we watch for some accumulating snow that will be moving in for us. So Futurecast moving forward, here's what we are looking at: increasing clouds. There's that opportunity for snow that will move in later on tonight, but it gets out of here quickly. We're looking very nice for tomorrow, though, with a lot of sunshine and some clouds mixed in. Some gusty winds today reaching up to around 25 miles per hour at times, and some of that wind will continue for a while later on tonight before it begins to back off, and some wind again as we head towards tomorrow, primarily farther off towards the north. Hourly forecast moving forward, clouds moving in with temperatures overall in the 30s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Janessa?
Thank you, Devin. We'll see you a little later on. Well, first this morning, more questions of what's to come in the Middle East. Here's ABC's Marcus Moore.
Overnight, President Trump vowing to retaliate after the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia was hit by Iranian drones. A fire was also reported at the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait. It was in that country where the Pentagon says 6 American service members were killed during an Iranian attack on a tactical operations center. U.S. officials vowing to ramp up attacks. Chaotic scenes playing out across the Middle East. At least 11 countries are now involved in this expanding conflict. The State Department is now urging all Americans to leave the Middle East, quote, due to serious safety risks. But each of the region's airspace is on lockdown. Flight trackers show just how many flights are avoiding the area.
You're fine?
Video circulating online shows a U.S. pilot shot down over Kuwait being approached by locals.
Thank you for helping us.
3 U.S. fighter jets were shot down by friendly fire. All crew members survived after ejecting. The U.S. has now carried out nearly 2,000 strikes in Iran across at least 50 locations. Fighter jets destroyed. Multiple Iranian Navy ships sunk. Iran's Revolutionary Guard headquarters leveled. Overnight, Central Command releasing new video showing U.S. strikes on Iranian ballistic missile launchers. But analysts say Iran still has thousands of missiles in its arsenal. The president not ruling out ground troops in Iran, adding the U.S. is prepared for a prolonged conflict.
Whatever the time is, it's okay, whatever it takes. Right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that.
Another big concern right now is the price of oil. We have seen refineries attacked across the region, and now Iran is vowing to attack any ship that passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Keep in mind, 20% of the world's oil supply passes through that channel. A prolonged disruption could have a major impact on prices. Marcus Moore, ABC News, Doha.
Meanwhile, Governor Janet Mills spoke with reporters during an event in Orono yesterday in which she described the Trump administration's military operation in Iran as unconstitutional. With a war powers resolution expected to go before Congress this week, Governor Mills is hoping to see Congress affirm its authority over the executive branch.
I came of age during Vietnam. My colleagues, my classmates, my friends didn't have a choice. They were drafted and called up to go to a war that many of them didn't believe in. I don't want to see another forever war without full consultation, authorization from the people's representatives, the people of Congress, the members of Congress. This is a dangerous and reckless unilateral action, and I fear for the results.
Meanwhile, Democratic U.S. Senate candidate Graham Plattner held what his campaign called an emergency anti-war protest in Brewer on Sunday night to speak out against the joint attack on Iran. He was joined by dozens of community members who collectively rejected the prospect of war in Iran. Plattner, who served in the United States Marine Corps and Army National Guard, described the conflict as an abuse of power by the Trump administration. He echoed Governor Mills' push for Maine's congressional delegation to support the War Powers resolution.
We cannot continue to act in this fashion. We cannot continue to get young Americans killed just to serve the interests of someone in power. That is not the way that we should be acting as a nation, and we need to be figuring out how do we claw that power back from the executive branch and put it back into the hands of those who deserve it constitutionally, which is Congress.
In other news, gas prices are now up, and they could keep climbing thanks to the situation in Iran. According to Gas Buddy, the price per gallon of gas rose nearly 2 cents last week to an average price of $2.90 a gallon. That's 3.5 cents a gallon higher than a month ago, but 14.5 cents a gallon lower than a year ago. Gas Buddy's head of petroleum analysis, Patrick DeHaan, said, quote, "Looking ahead, markets will now begin reacting to the weekend's U.S.-Iran attacks, which have elevated geopolitical risk premiums, even in the absence of immediate supply disruption. Oil prices have firmed as traders assess the potential for further escalation." Jury selection was supposed to start yesterday in the manslaughter trial of Jackson Hewitt in Knox County. Instead, Hewitt has now pleaded guilty to manslaughter in the death of 45-year-old Kyle McDougal in Cushing in 2024. According to unsealed court documents, the fatal shooting was allegedly a response to the victim stealing money and tampering with the truck belonging to the person who pulled the trigger. 3 people were there at the time of the shooting, and according to documents, they are now all facing charges. Police initially learned about the killing when a tip led them to a home on River Road in Cushing. They found 42-year-old Mark Gagney allegedly burning the remains of McDougal's body and other evidence in a barrel. Hewitt will be sentenced on March 10th. A Bangor man has been arrested following an incident at a local hotel. Bangor Police Sergeant Jeremy Brock says 32-year-old Daniel Chapman was arrested after police responded to a disturbance at a hotel on Godfrey Boulevard a little before 4 a.m. According to Brock, people working there called and reported someone threatening bodily harm. Brock says multiple officers responded and found the disturbance had moved inside a room. Brock says the officers could hear continued threats of physical harm as well as threats to use a gun. He says they made entry into the room when they heard what they believe to be an assault taking place. Chapman is being charged with criminal threatening with a dangerous weapon, assault, and violation of conditions of release. The man arrested in connection with vandalism at the Burnt Cove Market in Stonington over the weekend was in court yesterday afternoon. 41-year-old Mark Valios is charged with criminal mischief and possession of a firearm by a prohibited person. The Hancock County Sheriff's Office says deputies responded to the Burnt Cove Market in the early morning hours of March 1st, after it was reported to have been vandalized and thousands of dollars of damage had been done. They say during that incident, Valios allegedly damaged the storefront and multiple vehicles that were parked at the store before brandishing a firearm and fleeing the scene. In court, bail for Valios was set at $1,500 cash, and he is scheduled to be back in court in April. Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows unveiled what she calls a new deal for Maine. Speaking on Monday from the Maine People's Alliance in Portland, Bellows laid out the 4 factors that she wants to focus on. The first is utility costs, which include capping the rate of returns for companies at 6%, and the second is housing. She wants to get more people into homes and boost support for first-time home buyers. The time now is 6:09. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, Maine small business owners are speaking out against a Senate bill aimed at limiting access to people's online data. We'll have more on that ahead. But first, let's take another look at the forecast. For today, we have increasing clouds and some wind, highs around 37 degrees. Overnight tonight, snow is likely with highs around 23. And for tomorrow, partly cloudy, highs around 47. We'll be right back.
Bring your new kitchen to life with help from the Kitchen, Bath, and Flooring Division by Hammond Lumber Company. Bring in your ideas or get inspired by Hammond's extensive showroom displays. Your Hammond sales rep will help you create a materials list and cost estimate, and Hammond's designers will help you visualize your space before the work begins. And Hammond delivers from 34 locations across Maine and New Hampshire. Your new kitchen begins when you bring your vision to Hammond Lumber Company, your building project partner.
Dorsey Furniture has just purchased the entire Bedding Industries of America 2025 showroom. That's one of America's oldest and largest premium mattress manufacturers. They manufacture famous Eastman House and Eclipse mattresses, as well as over 20 other trusted brands. From that buyout, we've received 40 mattresses, mostly queen size. And right now, everyone is 50% off. Limited quantity, no reorders. When they're gone, they're gone. Dorsey Furniture, family owned, Maine trusted.
Sleep well, my friends.
Is your Maine-issued license or ID expiring soon? Good news! You may be able to skip the trip to the BMV and renew it online, including if your license or state ID is Real ID compliant. Visit maine.gov/SOS/BMV today to find out if you're eligible to renew online. Brought to you by this station, the Maine Association of Broadcasters, and the Office of the Secretary of State.
Multiple development projects are in the works in Waterville and will add hundreds of affordable housing units. According to a report from centralmaine.com, projects underway will yield 350 new units, but many more are still needed. First, the King Street project is at $16 million plan developed by the Kennebec Valley Community Action Program. The article says that the project is 40% complete. According to that report, the Lockwood Mill project will convert the former Lockwood Mill on Water Street into apartments. That project will yield 65 units total, and some are already move-in ready. Other projects include SDG Estates, Head Falls Village, Manor Gardens, and the Washington Street Complex, which will contribute a combined 156 units. Rising prices on mobile home land are impacting residents across the country. State representatives say Maine mobile home owners are no exception. Last year, we brought you a story describing how a New York-based investment firm took over several mobile home parks in Waterville, and then residents reported their lot rents had nearly doubled. However, elected officials have since stepped in, passing legislation which leaders say communities like Waterville are now using to help protect their citizens from what they call predatory behavior.
A model ordinance that allows the city to put a rent cap on the lots in the parks. And that is something any town or city council, select board can opt to do.
Leaders say Waterville is not alone. Communities like Jay are also looking at both Waterville's ordinance and state law to pass one that best fits their community. The Portland Sea Dogs mascot and those who gathered at the State House in Augusta yesterday were standing alongside Maine business owners in opposition to a bill that they say could limit how they reach customers online. Our Alex Schley tells us business owners argue the bill, as currently written, would put Maine companies at a disadvantage compared to businesses in other states.
Maine small business owners are speaking out against a state Senate bill aimed at limiting access to people's online data.
Sea Dogs are very concerned about the data privacy bill as it is written. Targeted digital marketing and social media have become a vital part of our efforts to ensure that we continue to reach the key audience members.
The bill, titled An Act to Enact the Maine Online Data Privacy Act, includes data minimization requirements that would restrict how small businesses use targeted digital marketing in Maine. Owners say the current language would drastically affect their bottom line.
Losing out on the ability to target our ideal customers will put our future plans of growth and job creation into question, while also costing us much more money to reach the same audience we are effectively reaching already.
Speakers emphasize they support data privacy protections, but say the details of this bill matter.
I think we can all agree that data privacy is not only the right thing that we should be doing, it's really a dereliction that we have not had a data privacy law. Ultimately, we should be using the model that allows a consent-based data privacy, that you agree that information can be sold to a third party. That's the model that is working in these other states and in the states in the New England.
Opponents argue the proposal as written could put Maine businesses at a competitive disadvantage and even drive some out of state. The state Senate is expected to vote on the bill later this week. In Augusta, Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
The time now is 6:15. After the break, we'll learn what's in store for midterm elections across the nation as fight for control of Congress is heating up. Plus, Governor Janet Mills was in Orono yesterday celebrating affordable housing units in the town. Those stories and more straight ahead on Good Morning Maine.
You have bared your soul.
GMA this morning, Christina Applegate revealing a side of herself she never has.
What made you change your mind?
The powerful Robin Roberts interview.
I'm in.
This morning, only on
Good Morning America.
Come in and visit AMHG Works, Bangor's #1 gift shop, located at 36 Springer Drive in the Rennie's Plaza. We have special gifts for you, your furry companion, and that special someone you are in need of a gift for. It's worth a trip in for unique American-made gifts. Here at AMHG Works, everything is American-made, and we are open 7 days a week for your convenience. American-made home goods. We look forward to seeing you.
There are so many fun things to do in Maine. Now you can enjoy more for less. Check out half-off deals from foxbangor.com.
Unwind with a massage. Let me take away the stress of everyday life and allow you to fully relax. I offer Swedish, deep tissue, and prenatal massage. Healing Strength Massage in Bangor is your place for relaxing therapeutic massage.
There's a limited supply available. It's on sale right now. Save with half-off deals from foxbangor.com.
Huckleberry's Card and Gift has a wide selection of puzzles for the entire family. Local items, including raised mustard and scone mix from the Scone Goddess, jewelry, town signs, coffee mugs, and much more. Located in front of the Brewer City Hall.
Governor Janet Mills joined residents, housing advocates, and state and local leaders to celebrate the preservation and rehabilitation of 24 affordable housing units in Orono through the state's Affordable Housing Tax Credit program. This as advocates are pushing for lawmakers to approve an extension of that program. Our Grace Blanchard shares more.
As decades-old federal rural housing loans are paid off, state officials warn that Maine is at risk of losing hundreds of affordable housing units to privatization.
And the possibility of unaffordable rent increases was very frightening to all of us.
That was almost the case for a 24-unit affordable housing complex in Orono after the longtime owner decided to sell in 2023, leaving residents on edge about its uncertain future.
The waiting list to get into affordable housing programs in other parts of, either Penobscot County or Maine, there's a waiting list that's pretty long. So I think we were kind of, all very nervous about, where are we all going to go?
To residents' relief, the Housing Authority of the City of Old Town assumed ownership of Mainview Apartments in late 2024.
He could have sold it to anybody, and the rents could have gone up tremendously, but we were able to preserve it, and do a lot of improvements, and the residents only pay 30% of their income.
They were then able to make safety and accessibility improvements to the facility through the state's Affordable Housing Tax Credit program, which the governor signed into law in 2020.
It would have been tragic for them to have lost this housing, lost their homes to development.
The governor has proposed a $70 million investment in housing to address affordability and increase supply. Legislation to extend the Affordable Housing Tax Credit is also pending, as housing advocates emphasize that preserving existing affordable housing is as important as building new homes.
There is a real threat to sort of displacement of people if we don't successfully bring together the resources and find the partners who are willing to do this work with us.
In Orono, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
The time now is 6:19. Let's get a full look at our forecast. Meteorologist Devin Biggs is in with the latest.
Alrighty, Janessa, thank you very much. Here's that winter weather advisory that's up until Wednesday at 4 a.m. for around 3 to 5 inches of snow that will be possible in these areas, while a small craft advisory is up until 1 a.m. Wednesday along the coast there. As I pull the map farther down toward the south and west, that looks to be the case pretty much everywhere. As I continue to move the map, though, that looks to be the common idea at this moment in time. But meanwhile, as we check out the wave heights, 3-foot wave heights being observed at this point, otherwise looking pretty calm, 6-foot wave heights further out towards sea. But meanwhile, on land, pretty clear out there at this point. We'll have sunshine to start things off, but increasing clouds will be expected throughout the day. So we are going to be watching for this system right there. There it is. That's going to be moving off towards the north and east. An all-snow event for us, as we'll be watching for some measurable snowfall on the way. So increasing clouds today. The snow moves in by around 7, 8, 9 o'clock later on tonight, and it does get out of here as we head towards tomorrow morning by around 3 to 4 o'clock, and then we'll be under a partly cloudy sky for the rest of Wednesday. By Wednesday night, we'll still have some clouds that will be hanging around. Some snow to the north, though, possible. And then throughout Thursday, we'll be under a mostly cloudy sky. As for the snowfall, a widespread 1 to 3 inches are possible. And then farther off towards the south and west, that's at 3 to 5 inches of snowfall. That cannot be ruled out. Meanwhile, here we go. 25-mile-per-hour wind gusts, maybe some areas up to 30 miles per hour. Can't be ruled out. Either of those gusts will be gradually backing off at times throughout the evening, but they're picking back up a little bit as we head towards your Wednesday, primarily further off towards the north. Before today, here we go. Increasing clouds and breezy with highs in the upper 30s, and that south wind getting up to about 25 miles per hour. All right, tonight, snow likely overall 1 to 3 inches with lows in the low 20s, and the wind overall looking nice and calm. And then for tomorrow, we have upper 40s, partly cloudy, and that west wind at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. All righty, let's check out your extended forecast, showing a mostly cloudy sky for your Thursday with highs in the mid-30s. So here we go there. Lower 30s for your Friday under a mostly cloudy sky. Wintry mix of rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow Saturday. Highs in the upper 40s.
We all have a friend who loves the McDonald's hot, crispy Filet-O-Fish. My friend, you could be that friend.
Choose between 2 Filet-O-Fish and 2 10-piece McNuggets, or mix and match for $6.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Davis Brothers Furniture is expanding. At Davis Brothers, we've always strived to stand out from the rest, and we are now proud to offer flooring for your home, featuring both carpeting and luxury vinyl flooring. We even have an installer in-house with over 30 years of experience. Come see the reason people have been traveling from all over the state and beyond to Davis Brothers Furniture in Guilford for decades. Davis Brothers Furniture, deliberately different, delivering statewide.
Brandywine Graphics makes it easy. We are the top source for screen printing, embroidery, branded merchandise, and direct-to-garment printing. With decades of experience, state-of-the-art equipment, and a commitment to excellence, why trust your apparel products with anyone else? And now, Brandywine Graphics can easily launch online stores for your school or organization. Simply design your products from brands like Eddie Bauer, Carhartt, and more. Share the link and we'll do the rest. Like we said, Brandywine Graphics makes it easy. Find out more at brandywinegraphics.com or at our Hamden location.
Family Feud asks, what were they thinking?
Name an innocent reason you've got your butt in the air. Got your butt in the air. Butt in the air.
Getting spanked. Very innocent.
No, it ain't. No, it ain't. Not if I'm getting spanked.
Thinking about fun? Watch Family Feud.
All right, go ahead.
Weekdays at 9 on ABC 7.
With McValue at McDonald's, get deals that keep the party going.
It only takes $5 to fire up the flavor with the hot and spicy McChicken. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
And now to those mixed messages on the conflict in Iran, coming from President Trump and his administration, delivering confusing and shifting narratives over the objectives of the war. ABC's Allison Cossack with more.
This morning, new questions about the administration's justification for the ongoing attack on Iran.
I found their answers completely and totally insufficient. In fact, at least to me, that briefing raised many more questions than it answered.
Since the first airstrike from Israel into Iran, President Trump said the objective was to eliminate imminent threats. Now the administration is elaborating, suggesting the imminent threat was prompted by Israeli military plans.
We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties.
But Rubio saying this when ABC's Jay O'Brien followed up.
Are you saying the U.S. was forced to strike because of an impending Israeli action?
Ultimately, this operation needed to happen.
Many conservative voices pushing back on the military action. Commentator Matt Walsh on X saying, so he's flat out telling us that we're in a war with Iran because Israel forced our hand. This is basically the worst possible thing he could have said. President Trump responding to backlash among some of his MAGA supporters, telling ABC News, MAGA wants to see our country thrive and be safe. This is a detour that we have to take in order to keep our country safe and keep other countries safe. The administration has also emphasized the need to destroy what it describes as Iran's restarted nuclear capabilities after talks between the U.S. and Tehran broke down.
They were proud that they had evaded all sorts of oversight protocols to get to a place where they could deliver 11 nuclear bombs.
Overnight, we learned President Trump submitted a war powers resolution to Congress yesterday, saying U.S. strikes on Iran were undertaken to protect U.S. forces in the region, protect the U.S. homeland, advance national interests, and defend our allies. Allison Cossack, ABC News, New York.
As voters head to the polls today for the first primaries of the 2026 midterm season, the fight for control of Congress is already heating up. High-stakes races in states like Texas and North Carolina will set the stage for what could be one of the most consequential midterm elections in years. Here's ABC's political director, Avery Harper.
As voters begin to cast ballots in midterm elections, President Trump is selling his vision of a booming economy.
This is the golden age of America.
But his bold declaration comes as he faces the lowest approval numbers of his second term. Our latest ABC News Washington Post Ipsos poll finds 60% of Americans disapprove of the job he's doing.
Our country is winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it.
Midterm elections aren't just a measure of the president's popularity. They determine whether his agenda advances or stalls. And historically, these elections are unforgiving to the party in power. Republicans are fighting to defend narrow majorities in both the House and the Senate, control that allows them to drive the president's priorities forward. Democrats see an opening, pointing to economic frustration.
Is the president working to make life more affordable for you and your family? We all know the answer is no.
A Democratic House could launch investigations and block key legislation, putting the president on the defensive. From Texas to North Carolina to Arkansas, primary voters are signaling how energized each party's base may be, a critical test in a year where control of Congress could hinge on turnout. President Trump is framing these elections as a fight to keep Republican majorities, saying that Democratic control could mean obstruction and a halt to his priorities. What voters do now could determine whether he faces a friendly Congress or an adversarial one in the second half of his presidency. Avery Harper, ABC News, New York.
The Republican-led House Oversight Committee has released a video of Bill and Hillary Clinton's separate closed-door depositions on the Epstein case. The Clintons are not accused of any wrongdoing, but the historic testimony did reveal new insights. ABC's Sophie Flay with more.
This morning, video of Bill and Hillary Clinton's closed-door depositions over their alleged ties to Jeffrey Epstein are now public as the House Oversight Committee releases hours of testimony. The former president denied ever seeing Epstein act inappropriately or engaging in sexual acts, telling the committee that his brief acquaintance with Epstein ended years before his crimes came to light. However, Clinton said he found Epstein to be odd.
I felt friendly toward him, but he was, as I said in my book, odd.
He said he first recalled meeting Epstein when he accepted Epstein's offer to use his private plane for humanitarian travel tied to the Clinton Foundation's work. Lawmakers pressed Clinton about these photographs released by the Justice Department during one of his trips with Epstein, showing Clinton in a pool with Maxwell and another woman. Clinton said he did not know who the woman was.
Did you engage in any sexual activity with this person?
During her deposition, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton was asked about speculation that Jeffrey Epstein had ties to foreign intelligence agencies.
I do think that is a fruitful area for the committee to investigate.
Clinton insisted she never met Epstein and considered Maxwell an acquaintance.
You have compelled me to testify, fully aware that I have no knowledge that would assist your investigation in order to distract from President Trump's actions and to cover them up despite legitimate calls for answers.
Sophie Flay, ABC News, New York.
Coming up on the second half of the newscast, an old pastime is now popular again. We'll learn all about Carmel Bingo Night as Good Morning Maine continues.
ABC 7, Fox 22. The place we call home, telling Maine stories wherever you roam. From sunrise shores to forests of pine, hard work, strong hearts, values that shine. From old towns to harbors, back roads to ocean blue. Neighbors helping neighbors in all that we do. Through storms and clear skies, day after day, we're here with the stories that matter in Maine. From mountains to sea, standing strong and true. This is Maine, this is home on ABC 7, Fox 22.
All across America. Good morning. Hello. Wherever we are, welcome home. It feels like home. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Man, it's good to be home. Good morning, GMA, it's an invitation to come together. George, how are you? Good morning. And brighten your morning.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
Bingo is an old-fashioned game that's still a modern-day attraction to competitors of all ages. Our Jody Hersey takes us to Bingo Night in Carmel, where the winning numbers are always changing.
22.
What started out as a carnival game here in America is now a weekly pastime in many Maine communities.
Oh, I love bingo.
Sandra Storman is just one of the players that attend Bingo Night at the Carmel Snowmobile Club each week.
Yeah, you have to get here early and get your seat you want.
Carmel Snowmobile Club President Tricia Babcock says the game always draws a crowd.
It's a glue to our community. Like, a lot of people really enjoy it. It's kind of the older crowd, but the younger crowd's actually getting drawn into it.
The traditional game of bingo, where players aim to get 5 numbers in a horizontal, vertical, or diagonal line, is still a favorite that's played before each novelty game, where the players use their daubers to create winning shapes or patterns. Research shows playing bingo improves people's memory, cognitive function, and hand-eye coordination.
35, 17.
Dean Washburn has been calling the numbers for as long as he can remember.
Then it was 75 when we got the building out and what have you. Bingo's been going in it ever since the building was put up because it basically pays a lot of the bills.
Many of the participants say they have a lucky seat, a good luck charm, or a favorite colored dauber that gives them a winning edge. But for Mark Willie, the game of bingo is just all about the numbers.
There's no really rhyme or reason. You just got to have the numbers when they're called.
In Carmel, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Now let's turn things right back over to meteorologist Devin Biggs.
Alrighty, Janessa, thank you very much. On this Tuesday, we have some advisories posted to the south and west. Winter weather advisories up until Wednesday morning at around 4 a.m. for measurable snowfall of around 3 to 5 inches possible in these areas. Meanwhile, small craft advisory up until 1 a.m. Wednesday in these areas. Meanwhile, here's what we got right now. Not a whole lot going on. We will be watching for increasing clouds coming up later on today as our next system begins to move in. As we do zoom things out, that's the system right there that we are keeping an eye on. It will be an all snow event for us as we watch for some accumulating snow that will be moving in for us. So Futurecast moving forward, here's what we are looking at: increasing clouds. There's that opportunity for snow that will move in later on tonight, but it gets out of here quickly. We're looking very nice for tomorrow, though, with a lot of sunshine and some clouds mixed in. Some gusty winds today reaching up to around 25 miles per hour at times, and some of that wind will continue for a while later on tonight before it begins to back off, and some wind again as we head towards tomorrow, primarily farther off towards the north. Hourly forecast moving forward, clouds moving in with temperatures overall in the 30s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Janessa?
Thank you, Devin. Still to come here this morning, Jack Webb with sports. Don't go away.
Rebound and recover with the Planet Fitness Black Card. Join now and unlock recovery amenities like Red Light. Incredible!
Get the PF Black Card for $1 down, $24.99 a month, and get your first month free. No commitment. Deal ends March 13th.
Hello, this is George Whelan with Down East Direct Cremation. Now, anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, from the comfort of your desktop or the convenience of your mobile device, you can summon transport and arrange a simple, affordable, respectful, Down East Direct Cremation for your deceased loved one. Just by using the button exclusively at downeastdirectcremation.com. All you need is the location address of the person who has died, their vital statistics information, a valid credit card for payment, and that's it. No need to pick up the telephone, no need to answer a bunch of questions, no need to come into the store, and it's still just $9.75 complete. It's so easy, even I can do it. For more information, visit us at downeastdirectcremation.com or call us at 207-225-5332. Simple, affordable, respectful. The button, only at downeastdirectcremation.com.
Rebound and recover with the Planet Fitness Black Card. Join now and unlock recovery amenities like Red Light. Incredible!
Get the PF Black Card for $1 down, $24.99 a month, and get your first month free. No commitment. Deal ends March 13th.
ABC 7 and Fox 22's Jack Webb named Maine's Sportscaster of the Year by the National Sports Media Association.
Back in, folks. On Saturday, Nets were cut down and state champions of the Maine High School basketball tournament were crowned after 3 weeks of action, which included the Penobscot Valley Howlers. The Howlers won their second straight title as they beat Mount Abram and Augusta on Saturday. Last year, they ran the table in Class C, but this year they conquered Class D. PVHS came into the tournament as the 4 seed. They dropped 3 games to Bangor Christian and 2 to Class C champion Mattanock Academy in the regular season, but the Howlers bought into the underdog mentality and came out on top.
It's a lot different feeling because we knew that a lot less people believed in us this year, and honestly a lot of people probably wanted us to lose after last year, so.
It feels really great. We knew coming into the season that it would be hard, losing some really good starters and players, but this team we have so much fun together.
For the Howlers, that underdog mentality was forged after their loss to Mattinacook, and before the tournament started, there was a week-long gap filled with just practice. Head coach Nate Case says he challenged his team to give their coaches their best and hardest week of practice they've had all year long, and Case says that is what made the difference in the state final on Saturday.
When opportunity arises or comes, it's too late to prepare then. So we knew after we lost to MA, we have to start preparing for this moment then. So we were prepared to play 32 minutes, and our coaching staff pregame said, girls, this is the first time all year that we knew that no matter the opponent, we're ready for 32, right? And so and trusting that defense each time, we knew we were ready for 32 minutes of our brand of basketball, playing defense every time, sprinting back, and it came from that preparation.
Favorites 1 year, underdogs the Nets. Congrats to those senior state championships both times. Staying with basketball, the Maine Black Bears swept the America East Rookie of the Week honors this week. Ace Flagg won his second Rookie of the Week honor for his dominant weekend on the men's side. He shined against Albany on Thursday, pouring in 22 points on 8 for 9 shooting while adding 12 on Saturday. On the women's side, Lala Woods earned the weekly honor by averaging 14 points and over 3 assists per game as she helped the Black Bears lock up the 2 seed in the conference tournament with 2 big wins to close out their regular season. We'll let the madness begin. The March Madness, that is. Several area college basketball teams learning their tournament fate on Monday, including Farmington, St. Joe's, Bates, Bowdoin, and the Huskies. The USN women's team is going dancing, fresh off winning the Little East title over Rhode Island College. The Huskies will head to Brunswick Friday night to face Johnson and Wales in round 1. It was USM's first conference title since 2013, and now the Huskies are poised to continue what has really been a magical season with local standouts J.C. Christopher, Lucy Wiles, and Brianna Townsend on the roster.
Super excited. Obviously, when you get to just keep playing, when you get to the end of the season, especially as a senior, you start to see your days kind of, you know, you want to hold on a little bit more.
This is an unreal experience. I honestly, throughout the game yesterday, I was getting emotional. I was like one of the only ones that after the game I bursted out in tears just because it means everything to me.
Completely shifting gears here now and going to the pavement, there was NASCAR history made on Sunday. Tyler Reddick, driver of Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin's number 45 car, won his 3rd straight race on Sunday down at the Circuit of Americas in Austin, Texas. Reddick had won the Daytona 500 and the Texas Grand Prix as well. Simply put, there have been 3 races to start the season, and Reddick has won all of them. That's never been done in NASCAR's 77-year history. Now, it's only fitting that if there were to be a three-peat in racing, it would be tied to Michael Jordan, right? Well, here's the co-owner and one of the greatest competitors of all time, Michael Jordan, after the win.
Well, I'm proud of the team that we put together. I mean, Denny, I'm pretty sure it's the same way. He feels the same way as I do. And I think a lot of credit goes to him because I think he's the mastermind behind finding Tyler and putting together, you know, Billy Scott and all that. Look, I just put up the money. I'm just a competitor, but I think Denny's done an unbelievable job in terms of helping build this team, and I think the team has done a good job in just taking our leadership and going out and winning. That's what it's about, winning.
Guy's just a winner. What can you say? That's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
The Sylvia Ross Home in Bangor provides 5 professional levels of care and support for residents. We have access to a registered nurse on campus 24/7. Our weekly entertainment consists of a variety of live musical performances and bingo games twice a week. Our on-site beauty salon is available with a professional stylist, and we have 2 libraries that offer computers and Wi-Fi.
Sylvia Ross Home is a warm, welcoming community. Please join us anytime for a tour and lunch.
Dorsey Furniture has just purchased the entire Bedding Industries of America 2025 showroom. That's one of America's oldest and largest premium mattress manufacturers. They manufacture famous Eastman House and Eclipse mattresses, as well as over 20 other trusted brands. From that buyout, we've received 40 mattresses, mostly queen size. And right now, everyone is 50% off. Limited quantity, no reorders. When they're gone, they're gone. Dorsey Furniture, family owned, Maine trusted.
Sleep well, my friends.
Every year, communities recognize outstanding service with the Spirit of America Foundation Tribute. Do you know a local person or group that goes above and beyond for others? Nominate them today by contacting a select person, city or town councilor. Help honor those who make a difference where you live. For more information, visit spiritofamerica.website.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, Prison Pause is a program inside the Montana Women's Prison that puts the training of dogs in the hands of prisoners. Jordan Redman reports.
From the looks of it, you might think I'm here at a regular dog training class, but I'm actually here at the Montana Women's Prison in Billings.
These dogs are learning obedience, and the women training them are learning something just as important.
When I came here, I was very depressed, and I didn't feel very hopeful. And I had been attacked by a pit bull previously, and so I was kind of scared of dogs again. And so I wanted to overcome that, and I wanted to build my confidence.
It's called Prison Pause. It's a 4-week program where dogs live inside the facility, learning basic commands like sit, stay, and come, along with leash work and social skills. But from the start, it's a serious commitment.
The second that they hit the pod, basically they're working from day one, and it is rigorous work, and it is 24/7.
The women train, groom, and care for the dogs daily under supervision, learning positive reinforcement methods along the way. For some, those skills won't stay behind these walls.
I applied for my pre-apprenticeship, so that will allow me to take my certificate from here and use it out there when I get out.
Melissa says programs like this also help connect the prison to the public.
I think it kind of helps bridge that for the public too, because you drive by and you think prison's so scary and everything, but there are a lot of women in here who are just trying to make it back out there and like build themselves back up. And I think that this program kind of helps bridge that with the community and also the inmates.
And for inmates like Julie, that connection matters.
This program relies on the community, and it helps us to become citizens who want to see good and do good for the community again, to give back to what we have taken away from the community for so many years. It's a chance for me to give back the abilities that I have to teach the community's dogs that they can trust us.
And that second chance starts with the community. In Billings, Jordan Redmond, Nonstop Local.
This morning, we're learning about a real-life baby beaver that was rescued when she was just a day old. And now she has both grown quite a bit physically, as well as grow an incredible bond with her rescuer. Here's ABC's Danny New.
On this World Wildlife Day,
Bo helps people see beavers as they've never seen them before.
we are meeting a pair of best friends who have been on an educational mission together.
Oh my gosh. He's waving. She's waving at me.
Over the past 2 years, Alexis and a beaver at her animal rehabilitation facility named Bo have been picking up millions of views online.
She fit right in the palm of my hand.
As she details their journey from rescuer and rescuee to being close enough to groom each other.
I'm just using my fingers like little beaver teeth, and that's just how she builds family bonds that have, she considers us to be a colony.
Alexis first took in Bo 2 years ago after a flash flood led to her being found abandoned near Alexis's home in upstate New York. Alexis says she and her team looked everywhere for her family.
It was a series of miracles that had to line up for her to survive.
She's healthy now, but Bo did eventually lose her eye to disease, and her immune system in general is just forever compromised. So, unlike the other beavers in Alexis's care,
Hey, Bobo.
Bo is just going to have to stay under her supervision.
I can't go in there with you.
However, she gets out plenty, and as you can see, actually communicated to Alexis that she wanted to swim together, so she had to get a wetsuit. In the summer, they now swim regularly in the pond together. Also, Bo even served as ring bearer at Alexis and her now husband's wedding.
She just waddled it on down the aisle. It was really honestly perfect.
In fact, Bo is even now a certified educational ambassador, and the two of them now travel to teach young folks about why beavers are so important to the environment and to our future.
They filter the water. They even create carbon sinks to help fight climate change, and they prevent natural disasters like wildfires and drought. It's good that Bo's here to remind people just how important they are.
And our parent company, Disney, has a movie actually about beavers coming out this week. It's called Hoppers, and Alexis was actually invited to the world premiere. Her review, she told me it gives beavers the attention they deserve, and she's not biased. In New York, for ABC News, I'm Danny New.
Now here's meteorologist Evan Biggs with our full weather forecast.
Alrighty, Janessa, thank you very much. Here's that winter weather advisory that's up until Wednesday at 4 a.m. for around 3 to 5 inches of snow that will be possible in these areas, while a small craft advisory is up until 1 a.m. Wednesday along the coast there. As I pull the map farther down toward the south and west, that looks to be the case pretty much everywhere. As I continue to move the map, though, that looks to be the common idea at this moment in time. But meanwhile, as we check out the wave heights, 3-foot wave heights being observed at this point, otherwise looking pretty calm, a 6-foot wave heights further out towards sea. But meanwhile, on land, pretty clear out there at this point. We'll have sunshine to start things off, but increasing clouds will be expected throughout the day. So we are going to be watching for this system right there. There it is. That's going to be moving off towards the north and east. An all snow event for us, as we'll be watching for some measurable snowfall on the way. So increasing clouds today. The snow moves in by around 7, 8, 9 o'clock later on tonight, and it does get out of here as we head towards tomorrow morning by around 3 to 4 o'clock, and then we'll be under a partly cloudy sky for the rest of Wednesday. By Wednesday night, we'll still have some clouds that will be hanging around, some snow to the north though possible, and then throughout Thursday, we'll be under a mostly cloudy sky. As for the snowfall, a widespread 1 to 3 inches are possible. Then farther off towards the south and west, that's at 3 to 5 inches of snowfall that cannot be ruled out. Meanwhile, here we go. 25-mile-per-hour wind gusts, maybe some areas up to 30 miles per hour. Can't be ruled out. Either of those gusts will be gradually backing off at times throughout the evening, but they're picking back up a little bit as we head towards your Wednesday, primarily further off towards the north. Before today, here we go. Increasing clouds and breezy with highs in the upper 30s, and that south wind getting up to about 25 miles per hour. All right, tonight, snow likely overall 1 to 3 inches with lows in the low 20s, and the wind overall looking nice and calm. And then for tomorrow, we have upper 40s, partly cloudy, and that west wind at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. All righty, let's check out your extended forecast, showing a mostly cloudy sky for your Thursday with highs in the mid-30s. So here we go there. Lower 30s for your Friday under a mostly cloudy sky. Wintry mix of rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow Saturday. Highs in the upper 40s.
Everyone deserves to be connected. Big cities, small towns, everywhere in between. And staying connected shouldn't break the bank. That's why T-Mobile and US Cellular have joined forces. And now that we've combined networks, T-Mobile covers more places than ever before. America's best network just got bigger. Join now and your plan price is guaranteed for 5 years. T-Mobile and US Cellular, better together.
Brandywine Graphics makes it easy. We are the top source for screen printing, embroidery, branded merchandise, and direct-to-garment printing. With decades of experience, state-of-the-art equipment, and a commitment to excellence, why trust your apparel products with anyone else? And now, Brandywine Graphics can easily launch online stores for your school or organization. Simply design your products from brands like Eddie Bauer, Carhartt, and more. Share the link and we'll do the rest. Like we said, Brandywine Graphics makes it easy. Find out more at brandywinegraphics.com or at our Hamden location.
Come in and visit AMHG Works, Bangor's #1 gift shop, located at 36 Springer Drive in the Rennie's Plaza. We have special gifts for you, your furry companion, and that special someone you are in need of a gift for. It's worth a trip in for unique American-made gifts. Here at AMHG Works, everything is American-made, and we are open 7 days a week for your convenience. American-made home goods, We look forward to seeing you.
What are we looking at?
Given the skid marks,
Carjacking gone wrong?
that's part of it. He's also got a bullet in him.
Huh.
The fun never stops at Wheel. You got it! It's a car!
You're a millionaire!
Weekdays at 7 on ABC 7.
Friday marked the 30th year anniversary for a popular Japanese franchise. Collectors gathered at Frank & Son Collectible Show in the City of Industry, California to celebrate Pokemon's 30th year. Pokemon has taken the world by storm with animated shows, mobile games, and valuable trading cards. Adam Korn, avid Pokemon collector and owner of a card business, says his franchise has united communities and has also become a lucrative investment.
Yeah, Pokemon, I think it's just a game that brings everyone together. I mean, I see a lot of families. It's something to do. You know, I've seen kids starting to play, and they grow up, they have kids, they pass it on. It's something to do with their family. And just a sense of community. Like, everyone's really awesome. You get to meet amazing people playing. I've made some of my best friends playing cards. And, yeah, I mean, I'd say just community is a huge part of it. And besides that, I mean, the cards just look awesome. They're fun to collect. Some are really rare, expensive, and you get really attached to them. How I bought my house was off Pokemon cards. So luckily I was able to buy a house in California last year.
Pokemon's creator says as a child, catching small creatures in the suburbs of Tokyo inspired him to create the hundreds of characters that make up the franchise today. Well, here's a sure sign that spring is coming. Several trails in Acadia National Park have been closed for peregrine falcon nesting season. Jordan Cliffs Trail, Penobscot East Trail, Precipice Trail, and Valley Cove are all closed until further notice. The annual closures are to protect the peregrine falcons from inadvertent human disturbance or harassment. Park officials say research has shown that nesting peregrine falcons are particularly vulnerable to human activities, which can disturb the adults and make them less attentive to their eggs or chicks. They say human activities near a nesting area can lead to temporary or permanent abandonment of the nest by the adults, leaving the chicks susceptible to hypothermia, starvation, and predators. Signs indicate where trails are closed, and entry into the closed area is a violation of federal regulations punishable by fine, imprisonment, or both. In 2025, 3 breeding pairs made their homes on cliffs in Acadia National Park. Well, that's all the time that we have left for this hour, but you can join us for the second hour of Good Morning Maine. That's next on Fox 22. Have a great day, everyone.
The Farmer's Table in Corinna brings you outstanding breakfasts, lunches, and dinners.
Federal Credit Union, we value the trust our members place in us to act in their best interest. Whether it's providing low rates on consumer loans or raising money to end hunger, we work hard to serve our members and the communities in which they live. We are excited to bring the meaningful and impactful work we do to all Mainers as we continue to grow. Wherever you are in life's journey, count on the county to be your financial partner.
John Brown first opened his own appliance store in Ellsworth in 1976. With his gift of storytelling, a strong work ethic, and a philosophy of putting others first, John and his wife and children saw the business prosper and grow. Today's third and fourth generation of family and their entire team continue to follow the example set by their grandparents and parents. Brown Appliance and Mattress, High Street, Ellsworth, a family tradition of quality, value, and customer service that always puts you first.
At
At Maine's #1 Kia dealer, Darling's Kia, you can't miss in 2026. Drive a brand new all-wheel drive Sportage for only $299 a month, or buy a new Kia SUV for under $20,000. Plus, every new Kia comes with our 10-year or 100,000-mile warranty. The best in the business. You can't miss this and more at Darling's Kia. The best cars, the best prices, and the best warranty. You'll do better at Darling's.
So what's it like being a doctor in Part Win?
This town is ridiculous.
Come on, you're starting to like it here.
Best Medicine, all new tonight on Fox.
Don't you feel that there are things that cannot be explained?
God has a destiny for us. Nothing is impossible for God.
Good Morning Maine on WFVX, Fox 22. From the Great Northwoods to the Rockbound Coast and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello, everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, Governor Janet Mills spoke with reporters about the conflict in Iran. We'll have more on that coming up. Plus, the man arrested in connection with the vandalism at Burnt Cove Market in Stonington was in court yesterday. And Secretary of State Shenna Bellows unveiled her new plans for housing and utility costs here in Maine. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Janessa Bishop. Craig Colson is off for the day. We'll have those stories and much more coming up, and as always, we thank you for joining us. It'll be a partly cloudy day today and maybe even a slight chance of snowfall later on tonight. Let's start off this morning by getting a first check of our forecast. Devin Biggs joins us now.
Alrighty, Janessa, thank you very much. On this Tuesday, we have some advisories posted to the south and